Vishal, Mr. Seshasayee, thank you so much for chatting with us here at ET Now. 95-minute press conference. Large majority of issues that have already been raised in the public domain
Many times.
have been addressed. I just want to have a simple question. What's gone wrong? Why has there been such a breakdown in communication between the founder promoters and the board of the company? What's gone wrong?
I don't think that I would want to look at what has gone wrong. I just take the fact that something gets spilled into the public domain means that let's do some introspection and say, how do we now rise above that and make sure it doesn't happen once again. Mm-hmm. Concerns don't go away. Concerns need to be addressed. So that's more communication and more effective communication. So whilst we've been engaged, now I have to find another way of making sure that my communication reaches the target, right? So I don't think that I would want to speculate and then say, there's something else which is there.
Is this an issue of conflict between founders and the CEO, founders and the board, or more specifically between Mr. Narayan Murthy and you?
I want to keep away all personalities from this discussion, and that's a training of the mind that I've gone through. I want to look at issues. Mm-hmm. So what's the substance of these issues? Mm-hmm. And I think I just want to look at it. There are issues that Murthy has flagged in terms of the responsibility of the board, even in arriving at a business judgment. Fine. So as I said earlier on, we would now go and say that how can we now sharpen this business judgment so another situation doesn't arise? I would say that why don't we just look at the way that we call out even when disclosure requirements are not necessary. Mm-hmm. So I would like to just take the substance. I think I would want to get away from getting into this personality conflict issues or imagining that there are other reasons. That goes into a wrong path, and I do not want to do it. This will be not a good service to the organization that I'm serving. We have to rise above this.
Sure. I don't want to get down in the specifics as well. I think the issue of Vishal's compensation and the issue of Punita Sinha's induction to the board, I think has been addressed, and I think it's just being kept alive for whatever reason. I think the one issue that we need to talk about is
until Punita retires, I think. Yeah.
Indeed. Vishal, why was that 17 crore payout necessary? Because I think people still fail to understand that there would be many high-level exits that will happen, and because the management took the first position and then went to board, would you like to clarify, and why did you think that such a excessive severance payout was necessary in the first place?
It was over a period of a couple of days, we went back and forth, and collectively we all agreed that this is what we would do. In hindsight, would we do this again? Almost certainly not. But at the time, that is what we did, and that is what looked like the right thing to do. And you always learn from an experience.
So you wouldn't do it again, but would you regret the decision in hindsight as well?
Isn't that what I just said?
Sure. Mr. Sikka, Mr. Seshasayee, the reason I'm asking this question to you as well, because as a result of this, it's almost as if the credibility of the board and the management is being put to question. Surely the talk of hush money and the implications thereof must be hurting your own credibility that you've built over years in corporate India.
It does. I certainly say that yes, when the board has gone through a process, when the board has looked at what is necessary to be done in order to address, let's say, visible complaint, and it has come to the conclusion that there is no impropriety, there is no evidence of silencing after an exhaustive process. And to be pilloried on this is certainly, to my mind, is distracting. Does it hurt me? No. I don't think I feel hurt about it. Does it anger me? No. But I do think it's horribly distracting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to shift focus away again from severance to talk about the way forward. I want to understand, has there been specific instances of what I'd like to call overreach by founder promoters in the last year and a half, 2 years since you've been chairing the board of Infosys? Have there been specific instances of overreach by founder promoters?
No, as I said, I think this is a process which is a very complex process. I think a lot of people don't understand the complexity of this transitioning to a professional management. professional managed board. To just give you one example of this is that the kind of time and the detail that you would get into being a part of a professional board and the chair of the professional board is vastly different to what you would do if you're a director or a chair of a family-owned company.
Sure.
Because you take many processes for granted. When management makes a proposal to you, you believe that yes, these processes have been fully gone through. Somebody who's taken the decision has applied the mind. But sometimes you believe that in an emerging organization where new people are coming into the management fold, you find that some of these process gaps are there, and therefore you cannot sometimes take them for granted. You then say, "Oh my God!" So we have to now put that in place before we can rely on this decision. And
Would
that's
you
a
say
process
there's
that
been
we've done.
overreach?
No, I don't know whether I should call that an overreach, but certainly there is a lot of passion which has driven a very high level of interest, and I understand this passion. And I've said this again and again. I understand this passion.
Sure.
And let's say that yes, we have to address that there is this passion and the interest, but I have to keep my mind away from all the other noises and then say, yes, what's the substance of what is being proposed?
Vishal, has there been also, is there a case of conflict of what you'd call value system of the founder promoters of the company and of a professional board and a professional management who may be in sync broadly with values, but whose way of looking at running the company could be fundamentally different? Is there a conflict of values, and is it only fair that that the management should have its way?
I don't want to use the word conflict to describe this. Every time I meet with Mr. Murthy, I treat that as any advice that he gives is based on his wisdom and his deep experience, which I respect a lot. So I don't see this as a conflict.
Sesh, did you ever consider quitting?
I think, a lot of people in the last few days have been saying, how come you don't seem to have any stress on this? I think I fear conscience. That's the only thing. And I know that whatever I've done, my conscience is clear. And therefore, there might, in this world, you will have people who judge you differently. But every time to get upset about a judgment which you don't agree with, I think will destroy your world and destroy completely your focus on what you want to do. So I don't get.
Vishal, what about the collateral damage that this whole drama is causing? I know you met investors this morning, but surely they'd be pained by all that's going on. This conflict isn't doing the company any good.
The media attention is quite intense. Obviously, I think the root cause underneath these matters is something that the good way to look at this is that it will help everybody. And I think the important point, and as Sesh also said, the feedback, the advice from the founders is something that we all value very deeply, and I think that is what is at the heart of this. It's the passion and so forth, but we need to also at the same time listen to and respect that we represent the fiduciary responsibility covers all the shareholders, not only the founders. So it's that. I think one way that I think about this, one perspective that I think about this is that it is a reflection of how important Infosys is, that there is such intense interest in minutiae.
Sure. Sesh, last question. Have you reached out to the promoters in the last 24-48 hours? Because today's statement from Mr. Murthy seems to suggest that he's not exactly in a confrontation mode, though there's been a climb down of that statement as well subsequently. But have you reached out to the promoters?
I have.
In the last 24-48 hours?
Yes, I have. And we both, it's not only my reaching out, I think Murthy was also gracious enough to reach out. We both said that, we need to rise above all this noise, and we should do what is right for the company. And while, of course, concerns remain, we need to have this discussion to see how we can address that to the extent that we should or we can.
And he hasn't sought your ouster in his conversation with you at all?
He hasn't sought the ouster in his conversation with me, and I don't think I've heard him say that he wants my ouster. I've heard others say. I haven't heard Murthy say this.
Right. Mr. Seshasayee, Vishal, thank you so much for
Thank you.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.